Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Lightman. I'm Executive Director of Metro 21 Smart Cities Institute at Carnegie Mellon University. And on behalf of the Vocer Alliance, Heinz College at Carnegie Mellon, and Metro 21, we're really thrilled to have for you today our inaugural webinar to talk about government to university connections and exchanging intelligence and sharing information between universities and government partners with respect to the talent pipeline. And our goal today is to help address some of the issues and talk about, lessons learned and share best practice. So before I get started, I want to talk to you. This is our agenda. Yeah, I just already started with our overview and goals, talk to you about what the acronym G2U means, and introduce our fantastic panel. We'll have a moderated discussion. That'll be my role, to be the moderator. And I encourage those in the audience. This is a Zoom format, so it's not a classic webinar. So we want it to be interactive. So if you have questions, please use the chat, and I'll ask the questions to the audience, to the panelists, and then we'll kind of summarize and talk about next steps at the end. So what is G2U? So it's Government to University. It's an initiative that we've been working on here for some time. We're really proud to be home to the G2U PGH in Pittsburgh. And it's meant to address this talent pipeline, specifically of getting really talented students at our areas and our regions, universities, to the fantastic jobs that are available in our region. This is very place-based, so it's meant to be focused in the Pittsburgh region, but by Pittsburgh region, that means we're also talking to West Virginia University and Penn State Beaver, Penn State, and University of Pittsburgh, et cetera. And then the jobs are in our 10-county region as well. And our role is, again, to match the need with the capacity. And obviously with COVID, we've had special challenges. But this is, as you'll see from our conversation, we've really bonded over this issue because it's a win-win on both sides. Today, what we want to do is foster collaboration and connection. So the audience is really important to this. So we're so thrilled. I'm seeing we're at 52 already, which is fantastic. You've exceeded my expectations. And we want all of you to be active participants in today, if not today, then in the future, so that we can continue this conversation and again address this issue of talent and help, the bottom line is help students find great jobs. So I'm really thrilled. We've got a fantastic panel here. My role is moderator. Just briefly, Metro 21, it's Smart Cities Institute. We're at Carnegie Mellon. And our job is to connect the fantastic research that's been done at Carnegie Mellon, all 7 colleges plus the libraries, and connect that and do deployment projects with our municipal and community partners in the region. And so our motto is research, development, and deployment. And we have over 100, I guess, with our partner Traffic 21, we have over 150 deployment partners throughout the region. And we're thrilled to be here today with our partners who are part of the G2U PGH. So with that, if we don't mind going, I'm gonna go in the order that we have here. So Laura, hopefully you're ready. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the line and then we'll get started on our questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Karen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Laura Zaspel, and I am the Human Resources Director for Allegheny County. If you don't know, we are the 2nd largest county in Pennsylvania, and we're home to approximately 1.2 million residents, whom we serve through about 6,800 dedicated county employees. I oversee a staff of 23 HR professionals who work directly with 22 departments to provide administrative and consultative services to our workforce. That includes employment and staffing management, compensation and benefits administration, employee relations, employee and organizational development, and recruitment and talent attraction. I've been in my current position for almost 8 years, and I've spent the entirety of my career in HR, most of it in local government. So I'm excited and energized by the G2U initiative and its potential for our region as well as nationwide, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jennifer, you're next.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jen Lasser. I am Director of Planning and Development with SPC, or Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. We are federally designated as a local development district, a metropolitan planning organization, and economic development district. My job in this organization is basically I assist with the identification of priority needs of local government, regional communities, stakeholders. My goal is to foster economic development and build a unified vision for our 10-county region. And I've been in this role for only about a year, but prior to this, I spent the last 12 years in workforce development down in Brevard County, Florida, and I assisted businesses, local and federal government with their talent needs and pipeline development for workforce planning. And I'm very excited about this topic, and thank you for having me.
That's great. And I call Jennifer our poster child for working in government. And she's got all these family members that are working in government. So we're really thrilled to have you. And then, so rounding out our G team is Sam Germino. Sam, you're up.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. And Karen, thank you for letting the city be part of the inaugural session here. My name is Sam Germino. I'm the Senior Talent Acquisition Coordinator for the city of Pittsburgh. I've been in this role, well, in 2 days, it'll be 8 months. So it's a new role. It's a relatively new position for me as well, especially with everything that was going on. The city, my primary position is to promote the city of Pittsburgh and to get everybody, promote the city, promote jobs to people out there that are in need of jobs, that want to work for the government organization of the city of Pittsburgh. And we employ about anywhere from 3,500 to about 4,000 people, depending on part-time, seasonal positions. So my role is to get out there and help people and promote Pittsburgh. And thanks again for letting us be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Zach, you're up.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Karen. My name is Zach Follador. I am an employer engagement and career specialist with Penn State here. I am actually based in Pittsburgh, despite working for Penn State. I partner with all 8 Commonwealth campuses in Western Pennsylvania here, including the 5 campuses around Pittsburgh, and then Barron up in Erie, the Shenango campus, and then Altoona and Du Bois as well. And my role as an employer engagement specialist is to connect employers with our students and find creative ways to connect employers with our students on those various Commonwealth campuses. So I'm very excited to be here today. Prior to working with Penn State, I've been in this role for just about exactly a year. I started last October. Prior to that, though, I started my career and spent the first 6 years of my career as a campus recruiter in a couple of different organizations here around Pittsburgh. I spent about 4 years at UPMC and worked for Wesco Distribution as well. So started out on the corporate recruitment side and have transitioned into higher education, and enjoy using the knowledge from both sides of those fence to bring employers and students together. So I'm very excited to be here today.
Great. We're thrilled to have you. And definitely last, but definitely not least, I should say, is Diane Taylor from Hines College at Carnegie Mellon.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks, Karen. My name is Diane Taylor, and I am the Associate Director of Career Services at Carnegie Mellon University's Hines College. Hines College is an all-graduate college which is made up of programs of Information Systems Management, Public Policy and Management, and Arts and Entertainment. I work specifically with the students in the Public Policy and Management program, as well as the Public Policy and Management Data Analytics program. And my role is primarily to advise those students in their job and internship searches and help connect them with great opportunities. I've been in higher education for about 9 years previously before CMU. I was at the University of Pittsburgh's Katz Graduate School of Business as an academic and career advisor for the MBA students. And I got my start in education as a middle school social studies teacher, which was a lot of fun and really rewarding. But I'm really passionate about connecting talented students to government opportunities. So excited to be here today.
Great. All right, Diane, I'm sure you're really happy that you're not doing online learning right now during the pandemic. So for middle school kids. In any case, we've got obviously a really diverse panel. We've got fantastic energy. And so we're going to get right into it. So again, if you have questions, please use the chat and we'll be sure to put those in through and weave them into our discussion today. So this, as I think all of us would agree, this has been a challenging 6 months. And so let's just kind of call out the elephant in the room. What is the situation with respect to hiring? What are some of the challenges? What are the needs at your organizations? Because even though a lot of us have hiring freezes, there are actually unfilled jobs at a lot of in government right now. So can we talk about that? Let's see, I'm going to start with Laura and then I'll go to Sam, if you don't mind.
Sure, thanks. Yes, Karen, as you said, along with a lot of government entities right now, the county's administration did institute a freeze on all non-essential hiring back in early April. Essential positions are determined on a case-by-case review basis by the administration. And although we do have positions that are posted and advertised right now, they have been for a while, we're not putting up a lot of new stuff at the moment, as you can imagine. That being said, there are exceptions, and a lot of essential hiring does go on, obviously, in county services. For an example, and really germane right now to the crisis, the COVID crisis, are positions in the Allegheny County Health Department. We have public health nurses and program representatives that we're hiring a lot of. We have environmental health and safety inspectors in air quality, in water and food inspection. And sort of a new thing that's emerged is the contact tracing opportunities that are necessary in regard to the crisis that we have been hiring on a contract basis here. In addition, safety-related positions are still being very important. 911 telecommunications officers, correctional officers at the Allegheny County Jail, our social service caseworkers in the Department of Human Services have been in high demand. So those positions, as well as other healthcare-related positions, nurses, mental health specialists, social workers at the jail, as well as recreational therapists and nursing assistants at arcane regional community living centers. So there's definitely a lot of hiring going on for people that are coming out of school or thinking about careers in government, even now during this time.
That's related. I unmuted myself. So yeah, that's fantastic news. And I think it's good to focus on, I mean, you had a long list of jobs available at the county level. We'll get to how to, what folks can do to address those jobs and maybe apply to those jobs. But Sam, I'd love to hear from you from the city's perspective.
Absolutely, and thanks again. And Laura, the city kind of follows the county, of course, and I'm sure everybody a few months ago saw the hiring freeze for the city. Well, it's a little tricky. Yes, we did have a hiring freeze, like Laura mentioned, for the non-essential personnel, but we always have and still have a need for hiring the essential personnel. The essential personnel for us is, refuse drivers and workers. I like to call, we have jobs from blue collars to senior management that it's always essential. And a big thing for us, the city, also is public safety. We never had a freeze in hiring EMS, EMT, police officers, and firefighters. That's always a constant need. So yeah, the information was there, like, oh, the city's having a hiring freeze. Yes, but no. So it's kind of tricky. We did for the non-essential people, but then of course we always need to keep the city clean and safe as well. But yeah, following Laura, it's tough to. We work hand in hand on the same levels of what we can and can't hire, but also through our website, pghjobs.net, is a list of all our jobs that are opening, and they're opening. It could be new jobs posted daily, weekly. So please, if you get a chance, check out our website there.
That's perfect. And Laura, where should folks go for the county?
The county also has a careers website. If you go on AlleghenyCounty.careers, you'll find a listing of all of our current positions. And again, not all of them are being actively hired for at the moment, but we are encouraging applications for when we can open things back up again.
That's fantastic. And what about internships? Either are there internships that students or recent graduates Are there opportunities for that as well?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sid. No, you go. Your turn.
Sorry. Absolutely. If the city has, we do have internships that once again, like they'll pop up every now and then. I know we just closed the application process for the mayor's office, which gets a lot of attention because that's a great office to get your feet wet in for experience. Mayor's office, it's called INP, Innovation and Performance. Basically, the city's information technology department is always looking for new students to hire, either paid or unpaid internships. So they're always there. And once again, they can always be found at our website, pghjobs.net.
That's great. Laura?
Yeah, just to mention that we also do have a number of internship programs. Truthfully, they have some of them been put on hold, and our departments have hired a little bit less over the course of this year, but they are hoping to be able to ramp up the programs. Those opportunities in a generic sense are listed on our website as well. Again, the health department has a really good AmeriCorps health-related public health internship that they do every year, and that will hopefully be open again next year, as well as positions in the medical examiner's office. So if you're into forensics and looking at autopsies and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of internship opportunities there. Again, it's a timing issue, so I would encourage students to keep looking at the website for when they open back up again.
That's fantastic. Jennifer, I know that you've mentioned that there's opportunity at SPC. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So we frequently have positions open up. We don't currently have a hiring freeze. We do take interns, and all of our positions are usually posted on spcregion.org. You'll also see our positions on Indeed and a few other places. But I will tell you, it is constantly look back at not just, frequently look at everybody's website, because these positions open and close very frequently. And quick kind of side note is, with the region having an aging workforce population, those positions frequently come open. People are constantly changing jobs. And I think that's a really important point, is to frequently look back at all of the websites to see, because positions are posted, taken down, relisted. Don't assume just because you've seen it once, it'll be there tomorrow, or, vice versa.
That's great. And also Peter Morrissey, our colleague from Voker, put in the chat the websites. So for the audience, take a look there as well. All right, anybody from the U side want to chime in, or we can go to a question specifically to universities? All right, I will take that as a hint. So much like government, COVID has definitely changed the landscape working at a university. I mean, I'm working from home, right? So I'm working at a university. It's changed dramatically. What is the situation like in terms of getting graduates into employment, and especially with respect to the public sector? Diane, do you mind talking about that one?
Yeah. So obviously, like many other universities or other organizations, we really had to adjust what we're doing in regards to our programming for our students. We had a group of students that graduated in May. For the most part, those students have had success finding job opportunities. They've had to be more strategic in how they approach the interview process. We've seen some, delays with students applying and interviewing. I think Jennifer's point about watching job boards and ensuring that, when you're seeing something that you're applying is great advice for our students, just because the actual interview and application process has changed for our students. I'll say in regards to our programming and recruitment that we've done, especially in this fall season, not much has changed. We've actually had a really great response from employers across all sectors, including the public sector, who are willing to speak with students, host information sessions and office hours just to educate students about their organization. Even if they don't have positions available immediately, it's great for students to hear about the organization, keep them on their radar for when positions do open up. I think the virtual format and having Zoom has really lended itself to getting more employers and alumni engaged with our students. It's much easier to jump on, a Zoom call at noon if you're out of the Pittsburgh region rather than make a trip to campus, or even if you're regional, make a trip to campus, find parking in Oakland, right? Speak to students and do that in a very timely manner. So although some things have changed and there have been some speed bumps, like I mentioned, in regards to like the application and interviewing process, for the most part, I think things are remaining steady with recruitment and employment outcomes.
That is fantastic. And it sounds like there's a chance that that might actually, maybe some of these changes will stick, right? Yeah. Post-pandemic. Zach, anything you want to add to that?
I would echo a lot of what Diane said. I think for the most part, our students that graduated in May have still been successful in getting into jobs. As Diane mentioned, the timelines have changed a little bit and the process has changed a little bit. Everything's being done virtually right now in terms of the interview process and stuff of that nature. I would also echo what Diane said in terms of, engagement for this fall has still been very good. I think we were all a little bit apprehensive of transitioning everything to a virtual format back in March when this first happened. But from our perspective, it's been pretty seamless. Our experience is that the virtual environment and doing things via Zoom has eliminated some of those barriers that might have existed previously, whether it be geographically or travel wise, expense wise. So our engagement still has been very high throughout fall semester, whether it be with our fall career days last week or other virtual events that we've had planned. I think, again, we've had to pivot and move events that would have been in person onto a virtual format. But for the most part, we're still plugging right along and our students have adopted well.
And
that is something. Oh, of course, please. Yeah, Diane.
The students, I feel like we've gotten good feedback about, we've had virtual career fairs, and I think the students have really enjoyed that virtual interaction with recruiters and hiring managers. I know at Carnegie Mellon, our career fairs can get pretty large. There's long lines. Students don't get a lot of time to speak with recruiters or hiring managers, but I think having the virtual format of career fairs or even information sessions has been well received by students.
That's great. So it looks like we've already got some questions from the audience, so I'm really excited. Abigail Thomas has asked the question. She knows that some government jobs can have longer application process, especially those that involve background checks. How early should an undergrad student or a grad student start applying to line up jobs for post-graduation? Anyone can answer this if they feel up to it.
Yeah, I think the earliest the better, honestly. Like if something catches your eye that really interests you, apply for it right away. And of course, from the city's standpoint, they're very willing to work with you and either start you right after graduation or work with you with your time frame. So don't hesitate, apply right away, because jobs, same thing like Jennifer said, jobs will close and open. And we have closing dates on our jobs descriptions there, so keep an eye on those. But other jobs will open up, daily or weekly.
And that's fantastic. Yeah, go ahead.
From my prior experience working with, some of the hiring timeframes for places that have a more stringent background check. I mean, somewhere like, let's say like at NASA, it can be months. Or if it's something that requires a specific level, I highly, highly suggest, applying as soon as you see it, but also if the background check portion, it may take a while, and that don't get discouraged. They do, depending on something as simple as a regular background check can take 24, 48, 72 hours. I've seen background checks take 6 months. So depending on the level of position you're applying for, know that might be a factor, but don't let that discourage you. If it is a longer length background check, it's just normal within that type of role.
Karen, if I may, this is Tamara Gosford-Bracani, the Federal Executive Board Director here in Pittsburgh. Worked a lot with all the universities and everything. If I would highly suggest that if you have seniors who are graduating in May, as everybody else has said, they need to be on USA Jobs if they're looking for federal employment. If they haven't already played around with it, they need to, and they need to seriously start applying in December. Because as everyone has said, especially with the background investigation portion, some jobs will allow you to come on in a, what's the word I'm looking for, kind of a probationary period without having the background investigation completed. However, if it's any kind of law enforcement or like even NSA, or I call it the alphabet soup, FBI or any of those other folks, they're going to make sure that that's totally completed before you walk in the door. So again, I would highly suggest they don't wait till the month before they graduate to get on there and start applying to jobs. If the agency likes what they see, they will wait for you. That's just my input. Thanks.
Thanks, Tamara. Thank you. Great. Anyone else from our government side have some advice?
I would just point out, Karen, that probably as well as the city, the eligibility list process in government, and a lot of people who might not have applied in the past aren't really aware of how it works, but we typically have a time frame that a list of qualified individuals is valid for, and those could be anywhere from a year to 3 years. So you may apply for something, be determined qualified based on your education, your experience, background, but in this first round, whenever there's a vacancy, you're not selected. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't be, considered at some point in the future. So if you don't hear something right away, don't be discouraged, because, as was mentioned before, positions turn over, and, new positions are created. So you'll be on one of those lists typically for a long period of time, and you could be called at any time.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. The city is the exact same way. We have those lists that it can last from, like I said, 1 year to 3 years or months. It varies.
When the duty calls, you have to be ready, right? All right, excellent. Let's go to some other questions. This is a good one for our university partners. How can public sector employers better connect with your students? What is compelling to them? Diane.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. Zach, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay,
Zach.
cool.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no problem. I think the best engagement strategy to me, and this isn't specific just to government or public sector jobs, but I think the employers that have the most success in connecting with our students are employers that take a long-term approach to engagement. And, there's employers that I work with sometimes that, they will call me and say, hey, Zach, I have these 3 entry-level jobs that I need to fill right now. What can you do to get me in front of your students? If you're calling me after the need is already readily apparent, then you've already lost. You're behind the 8 ball. The employers that have the most success connecting with our students are employers that have a consistent presence on campus, that take more of a holistic approach to recruitment, that I think students want to work for somebody that they know. And getting on the campus and hosting more targeted events in terms of things like whether it be information sessions or resume review sessions or mock interview sessions, stuff of that nature, getting into the classroom or connecting with student groups and a little bit smaller audience but more targeted, those employers tend to have the most success in connecting with our students.
That's great. Diane.
I feel like you stole my notes. That's exactly what I was going to say. 100%. I think if, employers or government agencies can get on campus and connect with students before they have actual positions to fill, that's great. So even if you're not recruiting for anything currently, still connect with the Career Services Office because we communicate daily with the students. So as Zach mentioned, hosting resume review sessions, we've had some of our federal partners here in Pittsburgh who've come in to do mock interviews with our students to help them prepare. Or, just different professional development topics. We had the Government Accountability Office do like a USA Jobs overview with our students. So any type of professional development, any ways to connect with students, student groups are another great way to really brand yourselves with the different programs. I would really also encourage, the government side to showcase the skills that students will utilize. Sometimes I think there's a myth that, working in the public sector, am I really going to be able to develop myself professionally? Am I going to be able to utilize the skills that I'm learning in the classroom? So anytime you can showcase the innovative work that's happening within an agency or division, I think students really respond to that. or, lean on professionals in the agency, find out where they went to school and really leverage that alumni connection. That works really well at Hines. A lot of the alumni come back and speak about their opportunities as well. So showcasing, the skills that you'll utilize, showing how those skills are going to make an impact, and as well as identifying, the growth and professional development that they can have within that organization, I think is really compelling to students.
That's great. Any other feedback from the G side? All right. We got a question from the audience. Recommendations on recruiting grad students versus undergrads. I find grad student engagement is totally different, but curious to think what you all think. Maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, Diane, you just work with grad, but maybe this is more of a question on the G side.
I would have to say most of the positions that we post and advertise for the county don't require master's degrees unless they're, or grad school degrees, unless obviously they're a professional specific field. But obviously there are a lot of positions where we say that it's a plus or it's preferred. So I think that we don't really notice, or that doesn't, it's not a big factor typically in our recruitment of students. So I'm not sure if it feels different to them or not.
I would agree with Laura on this. It's pretty cut and dry in terms of, do they meet the qualifications of the job they're applying for? And, in terms of how to recruit, for us, it's very specific to that job description and the skill sets we're looking for. So, if the position requires a master's, so be it. If it requires undergrad, so be it. But it's really those transferable skills and kind of how does what they've learned transition over to that job.
Absolutely. And with the city, we take your combined experience with your education. So you may have more experience that, and not need any education, or you might have, you combine 3 years of experience with an undergrad degree, which gives you them at the graduate degree level. So there's definitely a lot of pros out there with the city.
Great. Yeah, it's a combination of both for sure. Let's see, we have a question. Yeah, please.
I'm sorry, this is Tammy again. I just wanted to put in a plug for the Presidential Management Fellows Program, which is for those students who will be graduating by, I believe it's August of next year. Just opened, is open until October 14th. Tremendous program where these folks will be involved in projects and involved with more senior management level folks for their time period that they are a PMF. So for those of you who are familiar with the program, I know we wait every year until it's announced, and it just was. So I just wanted to put in a plug for that real quick.
Would you put that link in the chat?
Oh, absolutely.
That would be fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah, that's a fantastic program. And that actually relates to the question that we have in the chat as well. Somebody wants to know about information about internship opportunities as a pathway into government work. And I think, Laura, your predecessor, Barb Parise, has these fantastic stories. Austin Davis, who's a city councilman, or is it the state? Or anyway, he's a representative. State rep, yeah, he's great. And he started off as an intern, right? And then there's in the county as well. I think he was an intern for Rich Fitzgerald.
He was one of his executive assistants.
There you go. And he started off as an intern. So Laura, would you mind talking about kind of the pathway, there is a good solid pathway, definitely on the county side?
We certainly have a number of internship opportunities that do turn into permanent employment. And I mean, I like to think that, the students who have those opportunities really like it, because we don't pay them a whole lot, but they come back. That specifically in regard to, we hire a lot of law clerks that end up being lawyers and public defenders in our law department and the public defender's office. The program that I spoke a little bit earlier about in the health department, the AmeriCorps interns, often come back to public health professional, permanent positions in the health department. And we really want to expand these opportunities by developing our intern programs through the relationships with the colleges and universities. A lot of our internship opportunities are very specific to the departments that where the positions are, and they kind of manage things on their own, and they have relationships with individual schools, which is great. But I think that we could make a bigger impact if we developed a more comprehensive intern program, and then develop those pipelines to even make them accessible and available to even more graduates.
Great. I'm curious if anybody else wants to jump in. Zach, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. So what are your thoughts on internships and the path to government jobs?
I think generally speaking, internships are the way to start your career path and get experience, right? So if getting into the public sector or getting into a government field is your end goal, I think starting off in an internship in a public office, or working for a state rep or something of that nature, I think it's a natural starting point. I think here at Penn State, and I'm sure we're not unique in this regard, I think across the board we stress so much the importance of internships to really build your resume and get some experience under your belt. So I think I don't think that's specific to government or public sector. I think that's across the board, where we really stress the importance of the internship as kind of that stepping stone to getting yourself into a career path that you think you'll enjoy, that you think you'll be engaged in. And so I think that that applies to government work as well.
That's great.
Karen, sorry, I don't want to monopolize, but Tammy here again. Of course, the federal government always has internships available through our Pathways programs. Outstanding way to get your foot in the door to see what it is like in the day of a life. And the nice thing is at the end of that time period for your internship, if they like what they see, they can turn it into a regular appointment for you. So I would highly suggest, again, we have a one-stop shop, USA Jobs, where you can go and look for internships. But I always tell the students, if you don't see it on USA Jobs, go to the .gov site of the agency that you want to work for. A lot of the law enforcement, some of the accepted services don't post internships on USA Jobs. So they need to go to the .gov site, look under the career link, and see if they have any internships available. Obviously, a lot of them are going to be available more so in the summer, but that's not to say that there aren't some during the school year that would be part-time or what have you for these guys to look at. So again, that's another wonderful way to get your foot in the door and just to try to maybe try a couple different agencies, go for more than one to see where you would like to fit in the federal government.
Thanks,
and
Tammy.
I also posted the link to you for the PMF application. I think I did it privately, so you
can send it to everyone. Feel free to do that. Okay, great. Diane, Hines College requires an internship between the first and second years. Do you want to talk a little bit about the kind of the background on that and the importance of it and how that?
Most of our programs require a 300-hour internship between the first and second year over the summer. I think it's a really great experience. I actually just talked with a second year student yesterday who said, it's interesting, in her internship, she really realized how all of those core classes and skills that she was learning in her first year applied. She had the Hines aha moment where, okay, all the things I did learn and maybe didn't understand at the time do matter, and I was able to apply them. So I think that's been a really important learning piece and growth as a developing professional. The other piece of this is, I think there's a myth among students that if they want to get an intern to full-time conversion, that only happens in the private sector, which, from working with students at Hines, that's just not true. So we have students who get, we'll call them conditional offers, right, to return either federal government agencies or even, with the county and the city here in Pittsburgh, they've had return offers, and the employer will just say, check back with us as you get closer to graduation. If we have the budget in the room, we're happy to bring you back. So I think dispelling that myth for students that intern to full-time conversion only exists in the private sector is something, that we can be doing to help students see the value of those public sector internships.
Yeah, actually, I know a colleague, she is at the Port Authority. She started out as an intern with the Port Authority for a job that didn't exist. She showed that there was a need for the job, and then she got herself hired, and then she created a department And now she's head of the department. And, you know, all within, I think, 5-6 years, she was able to have that successful path. So I'm a Hines alum too, and I can speak to that. My other advice to those is I wish I had taken more finance courses and accounting. I know there's one regret I had, because after running my own nonprofit for 17 years, you need to, even if you have financial people, you still need to have accounting skills. So my little 2 cents there. Let's see. I'm gonna go to a question for the government side. Thinking a little bit longer term, and Sam, you were kind of hinting at this a little bit, but post-COVID, when we're back to hiring, when the economy is robust, taxes are being sent, jobs are aplenty, maybe not aplenty, but there will be more jobs. What are the kinds of jobs that are you guys looking for? Not just short term, but sort of like medium and longer term.
Absolutely, yeah. So public safety for us is always a need. It always will be a need. You know, and another I'd like to plug in is trades jobs. We are looking for those tradesmen, tradeswomen that, you know, plumbers, electricians, if they have a vote, you know, if they're in school, that what they're going for that, yeah, we need them. We'll take them. We have a spot for them. But more importantly, like public safety will always be a big need for us.
Got it. And there is a requirement of residence if you work for the city?
Yes, thank you so much. So so if you want to be a policeman, you can live within 25 miles of the city county building. But any other position has to live within the city limits. And there's 2 options, and the jobs will depend. One will be you have to live within the city at the time of application, or like me, I got the offer letter and then moved to Pittsburgh. And they'll work with you on that. So.
That's great. Laura.
Yeah, in terms, I think, of longer term needs, I mean, most of our acute needs now during COVID have really been our acute needs in the past, and will most likely, you know, continue into the future, just because a lot of them are high demand positions, and they're just even more critical now as local government has such an important role in responding to the crisis in regard to the ongoing health and economic condition of our region. And so those healthcare positions that I mentioned before, the social service positions, as local government continues to care for its most vulnerable populations, are going to continue into the future. I also have noticed a real surge in the need for skills in information technology, as well as in data analytics and strategic planning. I think talking about helping us to innovate and develop our solutions and build operational capacity to deal with some of the challenges that COVID has exposed, that now we know about and can continue to work at getting better at in the future, is really going to take those strategic planning and being able to make data-driven decisions, which is a favorite phrase of our administration. And we need, you know, innovative, forward-thinking, technologically savvy individuals to help us through that.
That's great. Well, it's all because your county executive is a Carnegie Mellon alum, so he loves data. It's in our blood. Right. Jennifer, thoughts on long-term, medium, and long-term needs at SBC?
Absolutely. So we're thinking transportation planners, our GIS team, our IT team, business finance, accounting. So, you know, GIS folks, researchers, presenters, and building off of a lot of what Laura said, you know, not so much the job titles, but the skills needed to do those jobs. And so that's being resourceful, being creative. But interestingly enough, I talked to a lot of my counterparts and said what I was going to be doing today. And I said, if you could give any of that, you know, skill set wise, I can't tell you how many times just show up and be on time was mentioned. So I can't stress that part enough. So from a hard skill perspective, all those things I mentioned, but from a soft skill perspective, being present, being resourceful, showing up, being on time, putting that phone away, you know, those type of things.
I'm going to record this for my teenagers so they can hear all the
I'll call them if you want.
Would you mind? Okay. And actually, this is a really good dovetail to a question that I wanted to ask our university side folks was the softer skills. So, we kind of joke that Carnegie Mellon, it's all quant, but there's the softer skills that are super important. And when you're looking to, what's in demand, it's not just how you can code, but it's also how you can communicate, how you can write, how you present, how you work in a team. You want to talk a little bit about that, Diane?
Yeah, Karen, I think you touched on some big ones, right? It's a lot about communication and presentations. That's what we hear a lot from employers, like those skills, although maybe they come to Carnegie Mellon for like the tech and quant skills, students still need to have those softer skills in order to be successful. So whether that be written or verbal communication, for example, like summarizing, large chunks of information into like smaller snippets that are digestible, presentation skills, the teamwork and collaboration is extremely important. And also I think for our students, because they are more technical, being that interpreter of like data and technology between people who are actually doing some of like the data science, data analysis work, and the people who maybe don't understand those concepts, and really being the go-between and having a foot in each world, I think is a lot of times where our students find their fit. So a lot of those communication skills, and then collaboration, teamwork, and I'd say problem solving as well.
Perfect. And Zoom etiquette, right? And now we have. Hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and I would echo everything that the both of you just said. I think the one thing that I would add that we really stress to our students is the ability to be flexible and to be adaptable. I think we think about 2020, right? We were all thrown a huge curveball back in March. None of us saw any of this coming. And so being able to be to be comfortable in uncomfortable circumstances, and being able to adapt to any, the curveballs that are thrown to you. You might go in to the office one morning thinking you have your day planned out, and then something happens that sends you in a completely different direction, and you need to be able to be light on your feet and adapt to that and thrive in that environment. So I think this is something that the pandemic has really brought to the forefront, but it's something that we've always stressed to our students, is that ability to again be flexible to your surroundings and the circumstances, and being adaptable and being able to still succeed in circumstances such as those.
That is a really, really good point. And actually, I think it's very relative to our government sides. I know I have colleagues that work at the city of Pittsburgh, and there are true emergencies that they have to deal with. And also, obviously, at the county level as well. And so would you guys mind talking a little bit about what are some of those softer skills that you're looking for in candidates?
I can say from my perspective, one of the things I think that's important, and a lot of it has to do with not only workplace culture, but sort of the demographics of here at the county, and I think to some degree, government overall, is the ability to respect, for lack of a better word, the institutional knowledge and experience that a lot of long-term employees bring, while also being bold enough to take a stand when you have an innovative idea, or want to bring forth a point that maybe you're not seeing among your colleagues. So it's sort of understanding that the knowledge and the experience is critical to the organization, and you can learn from that, but also being bringing what you can bring to the table that maybe somebody that's been in the organization for a long time doesn't have, and being able to do that in a manner, to communicate that in a manner that is collaborative and makes everyone feel as though their impact to the organization is important.
That is a really good point. And there's a lot of research actually that's been done and led by Carnegie Mellon on the fact that the more diverse your team is, the better decisions that they can make. So it's gender, age, background, race, ethnicity. And those are really great points, that there are people that, and typically in government, you have that full spectrum of employees. So it's important to value that to help improve the decision making. Jennifer, Sam, anything else on the soft skills side that you want to highlight?
No, it's just me. It'd just be echoing the same thing. It's working on a team is big. When I showed up to the city, I knew recruiting, but I didn't know how the city government works. So I was looking to my subordinates and peers to help me out here. Can I get a little hand to learn this stuff? And being flexible, like Zach said, absolutely. You have your day plan, you show up, and boom, everything changed, and I get put that planner off till tomorrow. But yeah, it's exactly what everybody else said.
Thanks, Sam. Jennifer? Jen?
The only thing I would add to that is, well, Zach, your answer was so spot on. I loved it. I literally said something very, very similar today because, especially with what's happened here, we went from working every day in an office to no longer working in an office. And so I think, for us, it's encouraging people to see change as exciting and not exhausting, and to see it as really as an opportunity to do something different. And, and when you talked about a very diverse workforce, and to Laura's point, one of the things that is so beautiful about having a multi-generational workforce and a multicultural workforce is that you get all of those different points. But I think it's also an incredibly important piece to understand kind of the respect piece of this, and when to really understand the soft skills of saying that, I think that's a great point of view. I get that you've done this for a really long time, but how about we try something new? And so having somebody be able to tactfully suggest those ideas, knowing there's several years of experience. But I think that multi-generational workforce is so important because you're getting such a level of knowledge and creativity, and you're building something really beautiful from that.
Love it. Okay, great. We're in the final stretch here. So again, if there are questions from the audience, I'm probably going to take the last couple minutes to do a wrap up. So please, this is my last plug for folks from the audience to ask your questions. And then I guess I had a question that we were talking about. Diane mentioned some virtual recruitment sessions and job fairs. I'm curious on the government side, is that something that you guys are doing or plan to do? Just sort of what can we expect in terms of recruitment from your side? Is it mainly focusing folks to the website, or are you planning on doing some more active recruitment?
So yeah, from the city, we're not only open to recruiting, but I love it. I love, and it's killing me. Is before I worked for the city, I was a recruiter for a different organization that I spent my time on campuses. Which Zach, you pointed out, people will apply to places that they know. Well, that's what my job was, to get to campuses, interact with students, get them comfortable, and that's killing me right now. I can't get out there and shake hands and fist bump with the students. Yeah, we are full on board to active recruit and virtual recruit. I had to cut short today a virtual session with a college to log on to here. So we're actively taking part in both aspects.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Laura?
Yeah, we have not here at the county, at least from the central human resources side, been involved in a lot of virtual recruiting so far this year. I know, again, that our specific departments that do have relationships with departments within the local universities may be doing that, on their own based on specific recruiting needs. But, I think we find it a little bit challenging, again, kind of based on our model of recruiting. If we don't have something specifically open at a given point in time, it's really more about educating and making students aware of all of the opportunities that are potentially there and available in the county, rather than what might be open at any specific time. So I think information sessions and educational sessions in that regard are helpful, or would be helpful to us to be working with schools. It's a little bit harder to be recruiting for specific positions that way.
Understood. Thanks.
Perspective.
Thanks, Laura. Jen, anything else you wanted to add to that one?
Sure. I believe that our transportation and our GIS department are actively involved. Planning and development side, we have a smaller footprint of about maybe 10 people, but when we have a position, it gets kind of advertised normally. But if you have any of those opportunities, send them our way. And if it's not myself or one of our other directors, we would love to partner in any way, shape, or form. So let us know.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So we're in the home stretch here. I'm going to ask my rapid fire question going down the line. I'm going to start with you, Diane. What I think Laura has actually started answering it already, but what do you think? What's your advice? What's the best way to connect the G's and the U's and get getting better connected to each other, especially in this virtual place we live in now?
Yeah, I think it's, something that we've touched on, Sam and Zach, about getting connected to students before you actually have something to recruit for. So really getting engaged with the Career Services Office. I know Carnegie Mellon can be decentralized, believe it or not. So, there are multiple career offices. So even learning the lay of the land within each university and, what career offices that you need to connect with, getting familiarized with their recruiting platforms like Handshake or Simplicity, I think can make the process a little bit easier to connect, those government opportunities with university students. And then I also think the flip side of that, I think as career services professionals, we also need some education about how recruitment works for different agencies. So are there multiple recruiting leads for, different departments or cities or states? So educating us about how we can also reach out to you, I think, is an important piece of this relationship.
Good advice. Zach?
I would definitely agree with that last point that Diane mentioned, and that, I think we probably could use some education as well. But the other thing I would say is that, again, I think a holistic approach is best. Penn State is also a bit decentralized, and the entire structure can be a bit confusing, which I know might surprise some people. But, I think connecting with career offices on specific campuses, they can work as a conduit to faculty, to student groups, to all these different areas. So coming to a career office, reaching out to me, or if you have contacts at the other local campuses, we're happy to make those connections for you. I think another thing that I would say is that in our experience at Penn State with working with government organizations, those organizations don't always post their opportunities on our Penn State job board on Nittany Lions Career. So we strongly encourage them to do that. That's where we drive all of our students to when they're looking for opportunities. So I think that's an important thing, even if it's just a generic posting with a link to your careers website, whether be at the county or the city or wherever it may be. I think getting your name on our website on the job board can also go a long way, because that's where a lot of our students are going to look for opportunities.
That is super helpful, Zach. Okay, I would not have actually expected that answer. So that is super helpful. And my next slide actually has your email address, so we'll make sure we have that.
Perfect.
Sam, what's your answer?
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting recruiters in touch with the career services would be perfect. Cause Zach mentioned before, if I'm going to Zach saying we need 3 students for this position immediately, like you said, it's already too late. So to keep that open line of communication and be like, hey, here's what we have coming down the pipeline. Do you have anybody in mind, or can you think of anybody in mind? Just that two-way street of communication would be the best.
That's great. And you're definitely not shy about that. So that's great. Thanks,
Thanks.
Sam. Jen.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to same exact answers to everybody. I'm just going to take it one step further and say that, use opportunities like this for your students. Encourage them to attend things like this, because they're going to be able to put a name to a face in a company, and they're going to be able to reach out and say, hey, I attended the, G2U panel, and I'm going to be like, oh, fantastic. And so it really is a lot of times who you know, and that way it's an opportunity to get your foot in the door. So networking is a very very, very important piece. I know it's a little bit more difficult in this virtual environment, but take every opportunity to network, as well as be on LinkedIn and all of the different factors and features. And more importantly, I can't stress this part here, is that when it gets, they always say, if the resume gets you the job, the resume gets you the interview gets you the job. Really work on those interviewing skills with your students, because their competition is so much larger than you can ever imagine. And now that we are so virtual, it is probably triple to quadruple. So their competition and their folks are all over the United States versus 90 miles. So thank you again.
This is great. Laura, you have the final word on this one.
Well, I would just use an example maybe. It's a school who's not represented on this panel today, but who the county has actually developed a really active and good partnership with over the last couple of years, that really came out of the school career office, renovation, or actually a new construction of a new career services office a few years ago. So they reached out to us and asked us if we would be interested in taking a tour and coming and seeing their new digs. So my group of employment analysts went. They actually got to meet in person the members of the career services team, and we've really, I think, developed that partnership based on sort of that hands-on interaction. So if you have any opportunities to do open houses, or like I said before, information sessions, and invite us, we like to travel around, and we would love to be part of that and learn more about how you prepare your students, and we'll tell you more about how we recruit them.
Fantastic. And so I have this last slide. We're actually over and out of time. I want to thank my fantastic panel. Great job today. Thank you for our fantastic audience. And here's some web and email addresses and Twitter. And we're going to make sure that these slides will be shared with you who have registered, and we'll have it on our website as well. Stay connected. This is obviously, we've hit an issue that is of great interest. So stay tuned for us. We plan to continue these webinars. This is the first, and a series that plans to continue into the future. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.